it has a somewhat more 19th century feel to it.
Yes, including, of course, the scramble for Africa. Gary Kasparov has argued that America is losing badly the scramble for Africa between Russia and China on the one hand, which is suborning nation after nation, and the United States, which isn't really engaging. How fair do you think that is?
The Bush administration was very involved in Africa, both from the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS relief, malaria relief. I think President Bush probably saw more African leaders than 5 presidents put together. We ended a couple of civil wars, including in Liberia and at least temporarily in Sudan. And so I think we were very engaged in Africa. I do think it's fallen off. And you can't be engaged in Africa simply to be the anti-China. If you go to African leaders and say, well, we want to engage with you, so you want to engage with China, that doesn't work. If you say we want to engage with you on your own terms because we understand the issues that you have, that's a very different approach. And I think we are losing that very much so.
There are more people in Nigeria without electricity than anywhere else in the world. Why? Hello? Guys, can I get some lights, please? Nigeria has the 6th largest population in the world, with over 230 million people. But decades of underinvestment into its power sector has meant that the quality has not kept pace with the country's growth. Worse still, more than 90 million Nigerians don't have any electricity at all. That's the highest number of any country. The country has the potential to be Africa's economic powerhouse, but to do so, it needs electricity. Now, plenty of poor countries struggle with inconsistent power, but Nigeria's grid is especially bad. It's never carried more than 6 gigawatts. To put that into perspective, Bangladesh, a smaller and until recently poorer country than Nigeria, carries nearly 3 times as much. The grid's job is to carry electricity from power plants to homes and businesses. But in Nigeria, the grid is still run by the government, and it just keeps collapsing. This shaky grid limits the amount of electricity that the government can buy from generator companies, and that then discourages them from making more electricity. This lack of grid power is making industrialization and the use of heavy machinery much harder. An inconsistent power supply also discourages foreign investment. Plans to improve the grid haven't had much success. One partnership between the Nigerian government and Siemens, a German firm, is supposed to add 12 gigawatts to the grid's output. But the initiative has only completed a pilot stage since it was signed 6 years ago. With government plans faltering, many Nigerians are taking matters into their own hands. Businesses in Nigeria spend a staggering $22 billion a year on generator fuel to compensate for the frequent power outages. Tech entrepreneurs, for example, have started to build their own power plants just to run their data centers. Low-interest loans from the World Bank and the African Development Bank have helped to build a few off-grid solar projects. But such projects alone will not cover Nigeria's massive electricity shortfall. If this gaping electricity problem is not fixed, the economy will continue to operate below capacity. Nigeria cannot be Africa's economic powerhouse until it can power its own houses.
Isn't that a fact? Nigeria, we cannot power any development, no talk of industrialization without war. Never. Now, today, we start with Dele Farotimi, who posed the question when enough is enough. When enough is enough. His senior colleague, area father, says our mumu don't do. Sound different, but they they are pretty much asking the same question. All one is answering others' question. Dele Farotimi is asking when enough is enough. Area father say, which was yesterday. So I don't know. Sounds complicated, confusing, not making sense. That is because one came before the other. But they both pretty much answer the question. Area father don't literally answer Dele Farotimi question even before the question is asked. Dele is asking when enough is enough. He's asking Nigerians, I believe. The same Nigeria that he believes that we are not citizens. I know it's a rhetorical question, or it's pretty much a call for to action, but it takes more than just rhetoric. Anyway, area father say our mamu don't do. That means yesterday we supposed on the enough is enough. The our mumus. That's what enough is. Well, because if you ask what is the for me, what I read to enough of what? Patience. Nah, waiting for God never even starts. Our stupidity. But again, even that our stupidity is my goal today is to say that doesn't apply to everybody. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there are three group of people. Nigerian, as it currently constituted, has three class of people. Now, the great Mama H.O. will say two, the oppressed and the oppressor, the rich and the poor, however you want to say it, the educated and the illiterate. But no, there is the forgotten ones, the poor, the poor, the poor, the poor, who don't have a clue of what is going on in terms of how government work, what kind of system, what should be that. They have no clue, and it is not their fault. Those are the majority too. Queen Elizabeth regard those people as the base. And I will tell you, remind me, I'll tell you why she said the base. Because when the base held too much information, what it result to was Brexit. She blamed too much of information within the base. Like the poor have to access to too much information, which automatically turned to revolution. Like they revolt against EU and get here as of EU from Brexit period. That's the beauty of information. But in this case, in Nigerian case, the base, the poor are still the majority. They don't have access to information yet. Why? Because there's two other classes who are working together, knowingly or unknowingly, to make sure those people have no idea what is going on. And those two classes are the governing elite, and we, the educated one, the exposed and the cosmopolitan, who understands how this world, the lower one, who are aspiring to go into the ruling class. So there are those who are there right now, who are the minority anyway. I will say them, I classify them as 10% of Nigeria. Then the educated one, the exposed cosmopolitan nature, and all those cream like that cream. We are 30%. Anybody will go school, finish secondary school, literally, you understand what local government, state government, federal government, senator, minister, and how all those things intermingle. We do. But there are people, we are just 30%. There are other class of people who have no access to that level of information. We regard them as illiterate. They are not useful. They are not necessary. Guess who is benefiting from that kind of rhetoric? The 10%. Now, how are we, why am I using those words to say this is how we describe them? Because the kind of conversation we are having has nothing to do with their reality. But the bad thing is that just like the pastor, we are interceding on their behalf. We claim to be speaking for them. We claim to be fighting for them. But no. That's why I said, knowingly or unknowingly, we are working with the 10% to make sure the 60% don't even exist. We'll get into detail, more country. Let's listen to just 2 minutes or 1 minute of a Dele Farotimi. I know he had like 30 minutes of ranting yesterday, but that's caught my attention.
This petroleum tax, it grates on my nerves. The typical Nigerian thing to do is to shrug our shoulders and go on and go make the payment. And I know a lot of you have already accepted it. But the question we must ask ourselves is this: when is enough going to be enough? At what point are we drawing this line in the sand for this evil system that is bent on enslavement? When that law was made, there was fuel subsidy.
Now, you see why I will classify these people as our problem, right? He's asking when are we going to draw the line? First of all, who is we? That one, we'll talk about that later. But he is asking a question that an answer have already been provided. Area father said, Mumu, our Mumu don't do. I'm finished. That means the man don't. I mean, the line has been drawn. That's what it means. But he said that you don't understand that because, of course, every Nigerian, not every Nigerian, we the 30% who claim to know it all, heard that phrase, was a trending phrase, was pretty much the national news. Even up to today, it's still being asked. So he said that you claim you just don't want to understand what he means by that, or at this point, I don't even know what to say because you, the intellectuals, seems to want to have no clue about the majority because living in our high horses and glass houses and thinking that we are better. So for you to now be asking questions that already be answered when enough is enough means that something is wrong somewhere. Somebody said that fail his or her duty, or don't know that he is his duty, or the goal is not to actually work to achieve, to bring this question into fruition, but to climb upstairs. God, we have spoken enough, we have debated enough, we have disagreed enough, we have preached enough. The only thing that is missing is action backed with resources. And that is where we have failed.
Fuel subsidy.
Continue.
That money was meant to go to FEMA for the maintenance of federal roads. It's never been maintained. They've just been chopping the money, chopping the money, chopping the money. Now fuel subsidy is gone. You're not spending that money to repair the road since there is no fuel subsidy again. That law was made when petrol was less than 100 naira. And at this point, I'm going to be calling out Yele Showore, I'm calling out Bello Galadanchi, I'm calling out each and every person who opens their mouth in the public space and say that they are activists. We must resist this fuel taxation. We must resist it.
Interesting that they are calling themselves out. Oh, okay. And it's like area father. Is what it mean by enough is enough has beginning to be understood. Or now because the election time don't reach. Anyway, people listen to another one first before we go into gossip. There's another one.
The generation that will fix Nigeria will not be born in Nigeria. There is something about the atmosphere in Nigeria. There is something about the water. There's something about, we have no business being poor, yet we are living in abject poverty. We have no business begging anybody for aid, yet we are in constant state of lack. Where we are today as a nation is as a result of generational failures, and the failures would continue. If a child is born in Nigeria today, that child has already been afflicted by whatever it is that has afflicted Nigeria. Nobody in today's generation, and the generation that is being born as I'm speaking now, can fix Nigeria.
You see the contradiction, the confusion, the foolishness, the laziness of the so-called exposed, educated cosmopolitans. They know it all. When Democrats lost their election in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, less than 6 months, the intellectuals, the leaders, the elite of the Democratic Party spring to action immediately. What did they do? They don't going around protesting bad governance or all those crap. No. They started holding rallies, started educating their followers and the masses that this is what is ahead. This is what is happening. This is why we lost. It is due to the Broligak, as they call him, the Silicon Valley guy, the billionaires. They focus, they have a message. The likes of Arias, Cortez, Gomez, I be waiting them color. AOS, I be think I go her name. Alexandra Ocasio Cortez, AOC. Wait. Benny Sander and the rest of them. They were going from one constituency to another, one state to another, energizing the people. Say it is now over. This is where the problem is. And up to today, those can rally, town hall is going on just to carry the people along because the fight continues. According to the Labour Party and the rest of the opposition party, they say APC rigged the election, stole the election, all kind of name. And they describe the process of the election. Since that time till now, 2 years on, I never see anyone hold a town hall meeting anywhere to just speak to the people, educate the people, and let the people understand this is where the problem is. No. I never see any town hall meeting. I never see any rally. But Dele Farotimi is asking. But at this, in the midst of asking, when
This
enough is
petroleum
enough, he's also challenging his friends to come out. Tell me how successful that's going to be. They've already arrived at failure even before they even start. Failure because who is going to come out with them? Not them. The majority of the people will still be left out. Why? Because they don't even know how to approach them. Why? Because they have no idea that those kind of people even worth talking to or carrying along. Those illiterate are disgusting. In fact, they are our problem. And then they vote for our politicians. So they are the evil ones. They are the problem. There is no point sitting with them or dialogue with them or educating them or carrying them along. Nah, fuck that shit. Better move will come our platform, our radio, our TV station, our churches, and and talk to ourselves, argue with ourselves, beat ourselves or challenge ourselves. So when you are calling your co-comrades to come out and challenge this, how are you going to be successful? When those in power, all they need to do is to just deploy their agents around all the villages. Easy, now just money, just pull every state, just give every local government pull 100 million each. People no go follow you. So the so-called intellectuals with the educated one, they expose we that understand how things work. We are the problem. We know it all, we know everything, but we keep that within us. We argue with ourselves, we challenge ourselves, we grade and promote ourselves. Then when times of competition, which is election come, we begin to abuse and insult and threaten the majority that we forgot that they even exist, that we did, that the people that we look and approach with discourse, we not expect them to build our fight for us. Because no, is to just talk, point fingers. Those people at the top are the problem. And you are though you on at the bottom now go face off that problem. That's our we the middle, that's our job. To be providing all sorts of analysis, solution. So when the late Farotimi is here, when enough is enough. Area father don't answer that question long before now. He said enough when our mumu don't do. It's not even asking a question, it's telling us the red land that you are asking, here has already provided that enough has already been enough. You know why nothing is happening? Because there are other two actions that needs to be carried along simultaneously. other than talk. Talk now one. The next thing that will follow is action back with resources. Not action back with words. That no they work. That they work to a very large extent. But resources has to back it up because it takes continuity. If every Saturday or every one day of the week we dey enter streets, we the analysts, the educated one that understand how the system work, if we decided to say one day in a week we go just dey enter streets, they preach what we need them to hear. Let's have a conversation with the people. It works. Redeem do am. They are everywhere today. Go a fishing. Winners did it. Christ Embassy, Deeper Life. I can go on and on. That is the strategy they use to build their empire, to build followership. They go speak English, do everything they need to do on Sunday, but they will see dedicated one day out to go out there and fish. Now, waiting Maga till win election be that. Trump was out there on the mainstream that they give him backbones, call him everything, do him everything they needed to. Then there's another layer, the so-called intellectuals within the MAGAs and the Republican Party. They went to work to strategizing, building network, doing it the old school way, combination with the technology that is available. These people see they knock doors, making calls. There is going to be an election. This, that. On a daily basis. That's how you keep government in check. That is how you achieve results. That is how you correct the wrongdoings of the society. So, to answer the question, when enough is enough, now it's not even a question. Enough is enough when you back that rhetoric, that argument, that point, that theory that way, when you back it up with literary action and resources, that is when enough is going to be enough. So you asking this question, it is what area father classify as mumu, and he said mumu don't do, means our talk don't do. How's the simple thing that the area father is saying? Our mumu don't do. The mumu na the talk. We have spoken enough. We have argued enough. We have debated enough. Am I saying we should stop doing all that? No, we can't stop even if we want to stop. But it's hard time we apply action backed with resources. Put your money where your mouth dey. How if you don't have the cash to literally put in, donate your time. America, we say time na money, but I say time na life. So if I give you my time, I'm giving you my life. If you give your time to work, you are literally giving your life. So if you don't have the money to give your time. Get out of the studio, get out on TV, go and literally talk to people. Because there's a reason why the governing elite, they make sure you give them time so that every all of them go enter fixed together come the campaign period. They have more resources than you. That's why they will begin to do shakara and threaten with their words structures. You ain't got it. Another time you go begin to build structure, they go just leverage on. It's very simple, but the fact that because we are so educated, so exposed, we don't even see that these things hasn't changed. How you get other human beings, how you get your fellow human being to work with you, is still the direct contact. I have to be able to see in your eyes that you understand my predicament. Not just telling me that you understand. That's not enough for me to follow you to the war zone. I have to be able to see it. And the only way I can see it is for me to see you physically. And there are many ways we can appear physically. Town hall meetings, rallies, churches, mosques, wedding ground, all those things, activities that bring us outside together. It's an avenue. There's no one make up one. If you want to bring your community together, I don't know, a sponsor competition. If you don't have the money to sponsor competition, approach those that have it, that are the same view of life, the same, that are also aiming for the same results. That's how it works. Those with the knowledge, those with the time and platform, and those with the resources have to come together. That is when enough will be enough. When they talk online, on TV, now only us they hear ourselves. That's why if you go village, ask kids, ask people about all these books that we talk about, all these scenarios, the examples that we use, what happened here in America, in London, in Ghana, in Abuja, in Lagos, in Enugu. Now only us, they have no clue. Their reality is different. They still don't know why other farmers and farmers are fighting and killing themselves all of a sudden. They've been coexisting for many years. They still don't have an idea. But me and you do. But do we care to sacrifice to go and educate them, to go and debate them, listen to them? Because all this you will read in the newspapers is the same, is still the same people with our understanding that put them out there for us to read. You never hear the headline they come out from village and are the village people actually put it together. No, somebody, some journalists who flew from Nigeria, Lagos, Abuja, Maiduguri, all those state capital, put one or two together and we begin to argue. We begin to dare our conclusion. We begin to draw our solution for all that. But for us to sacrifice our time and our resources to actually go spend weeks, days, months, we don't know how, with all our understanding, with all our education, with all our exposure, all of a sudden we don't know how to talk to our people. We hold them in contempt because they don't know how to speak English, because they are not privileged enough to go to attend primary and secondary school. They've never left their villages. They don't even they have no idea that outside Nepal there's a solar outside uh, uh, Pojo or whatever car that was 20 years ago that today we have electronic. They have no idea, but they are the majority. So when Dele is asking when enough is enough, enough will be enough when we match our debate, our rhetoric, our solution, our perspective, when we match it with what action and resources, enough will be enough. What you are asking is what area father called Mumu. talking and coming and asking question when enough is enough is what area father call as mumu. This kind of question now, mumu, our mumu don't do. And if I have to go personal, that's my problem with Dele Farotimi when he decided to take to partisan politics. I was furious. Not because it's not his rights to jump into partisan politics, but the position that he was occupying before he jumped partisan politics was more important. He's talking about calling a rally, a protest to say enough is enough. How many seconds will it take the government of the day to brand that as a politicking? I mean, I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but when the debates we now go from, oh, he's speaking for his party, he's campaigning, no matter how you would try to blow that kind of stupid conclusion out, you can do it because they have the biggest speaker under their control. So then before you know, you will not turn the focus of the anger, the protest, the whatever they are trying to achieve, in not defending yourself, your political party, your ideology, and all that. But as a private citizen who has no political affiliation, imagine you decided to say, not even say everybody should come and enough is enough. You decide to take a tour of the secondary schools around Nigeria. There are people who have the money that will sponsor that. That will build more results. If we all this, he calls name, the Farotimis, the Showores. I'm calling them because he mentioned those people's name. But we that understand how the system works, that's the next thing we should be doing. Going from one community to another, one village to another, one secondary school to another, one campus to another, churches to church, mosques to mosques. Anybody should not tell me that religion, now the same person they practice the politics, now be the politician, now be the religious person, now we say human being that harbor all these thoughts. I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I don't do pot. It's the same, but now one head because I had one hunger start. And you no go remember as a this hunger that I'm feeling is coming from the fact that I'm a Christian. Or this no. So everywhere there is a Nigerian, message should be taken to him on a daily basis. Not be when election season don't reach. Election season don't reach. You don't have the resources that the people in power have to reach the people when during election period. You ain't got it. Doesn't matter how much noise you make. Because now promise you get a promise. As you they promise, then they give. So the idea is that they buy vote. Now the fact now because you don't have the resources to match it. Because if me and you are competing for a vote, I'll do everything I can. I expect you to do everything you can too. But if you don't prepare me, if you don't go prepare ground, you will be confident. You'll be comfortable that yes, all I need to go is just to appear to that person for the last time. You will remember, I will trigger memory, him or her, how we had a conversation last week, how last month people that believe in his ideology came around. I talked to my kids. They went to the market to see my wife, how our hospitals are doing, even though they did not provide solution, but at least they came to see how things are doing. And I know if we are in a position tomorrow, they will take care of it. These are the things that will be running through an average voter's mind on that day. But those things have to be planted. Yes, memory have to be made in real time.
So we have to translate this into English. It's a very important video. So I want to I want to raise an issue. So you mentioned that the intellectuals ran away when the Biafrans were in place and they were campaigning, moving the way they understood it. On their
No,
own
no, no,
side,
no. Let me correct you there. Our intellectuals today left the field for charlatans too.
yes,
As if the people who showed that the Biafran struggle were intellectuals. Chinua Achebe them.
no, I'm talking about current one, not
Yeah,
the past.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the current one. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
they, on their
you
own.
see how you see how it describes the intellectuals and the people you call charlatans, right? People who, in their own understanding, their own little ways, are trying to provide solution. Because you don't agree with the way they are doing it, they are charlatans. Why the intellectuals excuse is made on their behalf, they ran away. What do you call people that ran away? Cowards. There's a name for people who ran away. There's a name. See, intellectuals have been, because English, we have a name for people we disagree with, who are trying to find a solution from their own understanding. We have a name for them. They're charlatans. But we, the exposed intellectuals, we are on a ways. See? You see why the few ones who are governing will continue to be in power. Because we that know better, that are supposed to go and sit down with the majority and dialogue and go back and forth until provide solutions, we agree, then will come out in mass and go to war with these people. They are charlatans. Listen to the question again now, and listen to the response.
Current one, not
Yeah,
the past.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the current one. Yeah.
Okay.
So they, on their own parts, they say that intellectuals like you and Soludo do not care about what they are going through, and that's why they are in there doing it the way they want to do it. Now, watching Soludo here, basically putting down his opponent in a way that I don't know if you will do that. You know, talking. I don't know if anybody I know, Candy Bear, will do that.
I will respond to that.
Yeah. So how do we put these things together? You know, make it make sense.
Okay. First of all, the issues they raised, they are correct to a great extent. That the intellectuals treat them like fools. I don't know the reasons for that, but I could.
So you see, this is what caught me my attention yesterday. You agree, because that's why at times I like the Dynamic, this 90 Minutes Africa, because the way it has questions at times is legendary. It's legendary. I be legendary. Oyibo. The way it asks question is top notch, because it did not just say you the intellectuals. It put names to those group of people. He mentioned his own name. He mentioned Okindebe and the rest. And guess what? Dr. Oh, Omoeze did not object or anything. He agreed to say yes. Make I play am again so that we hear the grammar when you take describe una.
Okay, okay, first of all, the issues they raised, they are correct.
Yeah, correct. No, I see, before we forget the issue, let's go back to what Dr. Dameji asked.
So you mentioned that the intellectuals ran away when the Biafrans were in place and they were campaigning, moving the way they understood it. On their own side,
No. Let me correct you there. Our intellectuals today left the field for charlatans too.
yes,
Good. And he's not even talking about, Dr. Dameji was even talking about, the past, to which he referred to the doctor that he said that during the Biafra wars, the intellectuals and the guy said, no. Now we, including me, including me, we left and allowed the charlatans. The charlatans, mind you, they are the majority. So you understand why the few 10% that are in the governing position can do and undo. Because the people who have the power, who have the card, who have the numbers to take them out of power, are being regarded as fools and charlatans by people who are competing with them to take the position they are by. In other words, instead of the governance to be fighting the people directly, be either in disagreement, do whatever on both sides to make sure they stay in power, they don't lose power. No, they recruited people to do the job for them. Who did they recruit? We, the intellectuals. We that finish at least secondary school. We that at least live in these urban cities. We at least that have traveled out of the country, I understand how other civilization work. We, the cosmopolitans, they recruited us to fight the real people, to denigrate them, to let them know that they don't want it, they don't even want existing. They are charlatans, they are fools, they are idiots. So you see where our problem largely lies. But again, these people will still come back. I see insults the same people if they refuse to vote for the people the kind of they believe belongs to their own class, that they will, by the time that person comes to power, it will be their turn. Once you refuse to vote for that person, all the problem that this country, Nigeria, is experiencing, it is because of your foolish decision not to vote for the person they instructed you to vote for, after they regard you as worthless charlatans. I ain't making shit up.
The people who showed that the Biafran struggle were intellectuals. Chinua Achebe them.
no, I'm talking about current one, not
Yeah,
the past.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the current one. Yeah.
Okay.
So they, on their own part, they say that intellectuals like you and Soludo do not care about what they are going through, and that's why they are in there doing it the way they want to do it. Now, watching Soludo here, basically putting down his opponents in a way that I don't know if you will do that. Talking. I don't know if anybody I know, Candy Bear, will do that.
I will respond to that.
Yeah. So how do we put these things together? Make it make sense.
Okay. Okay. First of all, the issues they raised, they are correct to a great extent, that the intellectuals treat them like fools.
Okay.
I don't know the reasons for that, but I
Now,
could.
that is the insultive part, that he doesn't know the reason for that. You don't know the reason why you hate me? Like, that's what we regard as insult upon injury. You agreed. You have admitted that you hate me. I'm a charlatan. But to add insult to that injury, you say you don't know why. If you don't know now, illiterate go no. So imagine the majority of Nigerians are asking themselves, don't know why these people where go school, where they speak grammar, where understand how government work, how the city life be. They say they don't even know why they don't like me. Then fuck it. Fuck it. But again, maybe not too much of exposure education and they make us not know why we hate people.
I could hazard an analysis. The kind of education we got in Nigeria actually from is still colonial. Okay, that's you could listen to Saludo putting people down. Education is supposed to train you not only in learning but in character. Okay, character is a situation where you don't put anybody down because of his deficiencies. You don't see a man who is disabled and you start laughing at him because you are an educated man or because you have good two legs. In Germany, there are education is not only people who go the formal way. They have what they call the dual system. That's the two-way system. People go to learn a trade. What we call a boy in our place, and then the others go to the university and to the gymnasium and then study and become administrators. But the difference is that the German system doesn't see a dichotomy between these two people. Most of the famous engineers that build Mercedes, BMW, Siemens engines, and all whatnot are the people that learned it as a trade. Okay? So you don't have any reason to look down on them. They earn as much money as the professor that's teaching in the university. Okay? But in our system, the colonial masters came, they only wanted to train clerks. Okay? Clerks that would be servants to the depredation of our society. And that's what we got till today. They only taught us how to blow big grammar with nothing behind it. And then you could see that in Soludo now, trying to belittle his opponent. You don't do that kind of thing. It was so very terrible for the ears to listen to a professor who is a governor. It's a democracy, yes. You don't even need to be a professor of engineering to govern a state in Nigeria. All you need to do is to surround yourself with the right people, the right advisors. Then you could govern anywhere. All you need to have is just common sense and wisdom. Okay, so Soludo thinking that being a professor has been a professor converted Anambra State to China. Has it made Anambra State more progressive than every other state? Nigerians that went to the Bar Association meeting, my friends and colleagues that went there in Enugu, were telling me that Enugu is even better than what is happening in Anambra State. And Soludo is a professor. So being a professor there are professors who are idiots and there are professors who are humane. So your academic title, if you are really well educated, it should train you in character and in learning, not only in learning, and then you will come to be, exposing that kind of little boasts. That is a campaign. I know in campaign season, everything is, turned upside down, and you see people who should be intelligent speaking like people who have never seen the four walls of a classroom in their lives. So Soludo actually, betrayed everything about an intellectual should be in that little post. But pushing that to what the agitators who want Biafra are saying, the intellectuals abandoned the field for them. Many intellectuals were afraid of being insulted or being called intellectuals by those who could talk, or those who could make noise, or those who have the microphones. Every revolution has its thinkers. Karl Marx is one of the greatest philosophers of all times. Communism that China is practicing today, and communism everywhere, took its moment from the writings of Karl Marx. Okay. Any bird that flies requires two wings. You need the wing of brains and brawn. If you go for brawn alone, you will end up like Okonkwo. You will commit suicide. You'll kill yourself. And that's what these guys are doing. If you have intellect alone without action, you will go nowhere. You will be in a state of inertia. Okay. So we need both in equal measure. Okay. And that's what is failing in this kind of agitation. They don't have anybody who is advising them on strategic goals, what we need to attain. If you want to gain your own state, it's not impossible, but you need the right support from the right quarters.
Yeah, but
do you have
when the people who they support to be coming from ran away are still running away? According to him, he admitted that they ran away. Using Kamas as an example, it's spot on. Kamas read Communist Manifesto in 1848, if I'm not mistaken. That is the height of war, literally, within the Eurasia between the capitalists and the communists. Communism pretty much take over everywhere, one at a time. Hamas did not run away. It was at the center of all the war that was going on economically. So yes, you are spot on with that example. But again, you still just end up hanging your class, exposing the foolishness and the stupidity and the charlatanness of the educated class. So una run away, but at the same time, you are expecting the so-called charlatans to do what? Wait? Because according to you, now we're supposed to lead at the forefront by providing idea, theories on how things should work. While you guys are on your heels, now take off leave. So what do you expect the people to do? Yeah, Mileno.
No. Buying two AK-47s and sending kids to the bushes to confront an army that is known for brutality is the greatest recipe for disaster. That's what I've been calling. I've been saying all this while. You don't effect a revolution that way. You don't gain independence that way. It's not going to happen. In this Nigeria, it's not going to happen.
There's no one way
They
to get
could kill
independence.
Ndibo, they could kill our youth for 100 years. Nobody's going to give you
Killing them
independence
right
that way.
now.
Who are you talking to? As the Biafran, what was going on? Mokedi and co, we are going for peace talks in Kampala, in Aburi, in so many other places. You need to keep talking with those who you feel are your enemies. If you close down all doors and then come internally to slaughter your...
So the question is that you, the intellectuals, are you people talking to those people? Because you guys ran away, you guys are not doing anything, but you are calling people who are doing anything within their capacity charlatans. I don't get it, man. How confused can we, the elite, the educated class, be? I'm happy that we are not the majority.
Own people in the name of fighting to freedom. Then you must be crazy. I'm done with this.
All right. Thank you.
So we are in trouble. That's all I can say. Wahala. We are in freaking trouble. People who are supposed to prefer solution are on their heels, taking off, running away. But that's not even the annoying part. The annoying part is that they turn back and insult the people who are trying to provide solution as best as they can. Just because you disagree with that way, you call them charlatans, stupid, foolish, illiterate, mumu, whatever names that is on the book. So I don't know. I'm confused at the same time. I've never been this confused. Eh? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've never been this confused. You just admitted that the people who are supposed to be providing the solution intellectually, guiding the whole movement, the process, are on their heels. They are gone. Those people who are brave enough to say, you know what, the little that I know, shit, I might better put it over because after all, that all die and I die, I will die anyway. So let me exercise the little that I know and see what it will do. Instead of you to command that bravery, because that is what you are running away from, and say, come, yes, what you are doing is a solution from your perspective, but you need this. No, they tell the person make it stop without providing. Don't just be recommending solution, because just as area father say, our mumu don't do, but still, Dele Farotimi they ask when enough is enough. After you already been told that that's a mumu move, is enough. So criminalizing and demoralizing and calling those who are on the field trying to provide solution on names without backing it up with action and resources, you are the problem. That's all I can say. Fucking the educated ones are the problem at this point.
This petroleum tax, it grates on my nerves. The typical Nigerian thing to do is to shrug our shoulders and go on and go make the payment. And I know a lot of you have already accepted it. But the question we must ask ourselves is this: when is enough going to be enough? At what point are we drawing this line in the sand for this evil system that is bent on enslavement?
When you start backing your rhetoric, your debates, your arguments, your preaching, when you start backing it up with action and resources, enough will be enough. Anything outside that, this question you go ask them again next year, because you've been answering this question for decades. You are still going to ask it again in the next decade until you start backing that question with action and resources. Turn the resources, maybe not the avenue that you are asking the question from is the wrong avenue. At this point, going on TV, going on radio, going on internet, you are not talking to anybody but yourself, just as I did here. Because the people that you need to talk to, you don't like them. They disgust you. They stink because they can't speak English, because they cannot understand your way. Because where they live is not accessible. The comfort life you live in a city, you cannot ditch that, not even for 5 hours a day, to go into where the majority live. It's too dirty. There are no roads, there are no security. So let me just go on TV, let me go on radio, let me go on, the same old, and speak the same English, thinking that anything will change. So that enough will be enough when it start getting powered by action and resources.
When that law was made, there was fuel subsidy. That money was meant to go to FEMA for the maintenance of federal roads. It's never been maintained. They've just been chopping the money. Now fuel subsidy is gone. You're not spending that money to repair the road since there is no fuel subsidy again. That law was made when petrol was less than 100 naira. And at this point, I'm going to be calling out Yele Showore, I'm calling out Bello Galadanchi, I'm calling out each and every person who opens their mouth in the public space and say that they are activists. We must resist this fuel taxation. We must resist it.
Let me see how you want to resist now. I'm interested because this action, we don't see them before. So you are calling the actors, because at this point now that they're actors, they should come out and shoot a movie that need to go viral. That's what you are calling for. But of course, you will call in the name of the people, the everyday people, to come out. And if they refuse to come out, they are the problem. Sure, of course, will come out. Content needs to be created. Its name needs to be on the internet every day. Need to make the headlines. So all those names you call, they will come out. They do that every goddamn day. But it's just that they're doing the same thing and they're expecting a different result. It's insanity. We don't need to look outside our society to see what needs to be done and how it should be done, because we're already there. There are people among us who are doing what needed to be done and they are very successful at it. I'm telling you, I will give you names and examples. Redeemed Christian Church of God. How are they getting their members? They are not on internet screaming and arguing. They are not on national television arguing every day with themselves. They go a fishing. They send people to the interior. They help those people to come to the city. They do whatever they can, one on one. They plant churches in villages where human being lives. They listen to their pledge. They try to help one who they can, the little they can. Before you know the numbers, so that the more the number is, before you know they started profit, they started making money. But that's a business strategy. That's how politics work. That is how you end enough is enough. Tell Showore to go to villages and start holding crusade. Churches own 9 VG. We criticize them, but that is the only way to convince fellow human beings. It's a practice that is as old as human being itself. It's not enough. I'm hearing you from afar. I want to be able to look into your eyes and see my position. I'm able to see that you understand what I'm going through. You don't have to be there by yourself. That is how you plant people. PDB call it what? Structures. APC call it structures. That's what political party call them. In America, they call them Christians. You go. That's what I was asking the likes of Okonkwo. What is obedient doing? I expect them to be planting churches. I will give it to them. They are planting churches on platforms. They have big YouTube platform now everywhere. They have radio station. They have TV boards. Guess what? That is not going anywhere. Still us talking to ourselves. You have to do it like winners. Winners started having branches in every local government first. They did not do like winners. They don't do like Redeem that is every 5 miles, I be every 5 meters, I be every 5 hours. Those motherfuckers just I've been saying, I don't use this analogy so many times. The Redeem business strategy, Redeem Christian Church of God strategy, is that of McDonald's. Those with the America or not America know what or South America, I think. China, even. The business strategy of McDonald's. That's what Redeem used. Pretty much every 5 meters. I think McDonald's now are pretty much every 1 or 2 kilometers, especially in the urban, populated area. That is the same strategy. You must have McDonald's there. That's why they are human. I think at one point Coca-Cola goal was anywhere just human beings there should be a Coca-Cola. Physically. Winners adopt the strategy of Walmart. Again, if you live in America, you understand what I mean by Walmart. Walmart, every, not just the list we see is every county. At least every county just one Walmart. That's every local government just one Walmart. Before they will now start taking numbers of some dense area into consideration, they're going to get a Walmart supercenter, Walmart neighborhood, and all that. But that's what Winners did. And I think they are still doing it. Winners started having branch in every local government. They don't go beyond local governments. So there's no way. Even when Barack Obama, the audacity to win, Barack Obama, even when he revolutionized or bring this internet campaign, whatever mainstream, they were still very much on ground. As much as they hear them on Facebook and everywhere, they are still in every people's doors. It's now politics now 24 hours all year round. It's like an Olympic sports. You launch the next competition, the very next day you lose you lose the current one. You don't plan for the other. I use the Democrat as an example. Yes, they lost to a Republican. They were blown out. They don't give up. The likes of the future leaders of the Democrat, they went to work, started holding rallies and started. And the Republicans, you were shocked because the AOC and co, they were getting like 30, 40,000 people coming out to just listen to them. So, Dele Farotimi and your gangs, be humble. People should take a chapter from Redeem and Winners. Think that the next thing where I go, that will be my next my next show. Why anybody who wants to liberate Nigeria, any political party, has to do it that way. That's why regardless how people they see PDP, I say PDP is not dead. I still challenge anybody that they have more structure across the length and breadth of Nigeria than the ruling party APC. Because people know say the PDP adopt those churches strategy. Because if you remember, as a Nigerian, if you remember when during Obasanjo time, people they paint their house PDP. For neighborhood, you go see like 2, 3, 4, everybody they paint house PDP. Share the money. From PDP power to PDP share the money. They share the money so they share themselves out of power. Anywhere where Nigerian day that time. That's another thing about PDP that people don't seem to understand. PDP went for people who were known in their locality to run for election during their time. They are the initial state of PDP. Even when they go into universities, they go carry professors, and now professors will be say they are in tune with the people, their community. So you don't need to say, oh, this person he lives went to school abroad, London, just come back. He started no. All these them Saraki, these are This were the abnormal practice at that time. A few people come from abroad during Obasa, and I ain't go bring themselves. But people from locals were becoming councillor, chairman, House of Assembly, House of Rep. Like, so PDP was everywhere. Obedience came with that useful exuberance, and they failed to capitalize on that as far as I'm concerned. Trump was supposed to speak on religious. Let me look for this Dele Farotimi's shenanigan video. A full video. All this our new journalists, them David Day and Co. I think I will need to do an episode on them, who they sponsor them, and what the deal is. Because they're doing too much.
This petroleum taking for granted that, like it grates on my nerves. The typical Nigerian thing to do is to shrug our shoulders and go on and go make the payment. And I know a lot of you have already accepted it. But the question we must ask ourselves is this: when is enough going to be enough? At what point at this time are we drawing this line in the sand for this evil system that is bent a minute so that when that law was made, the late comers, there was fuel subsidy. Join us. That money was meant to go to FEMA for the maintenance of it. This petroleum tax, it grates on my nerves. This petroleum tax, it grates on my nerves. The typical Nigerian thing to do is to shrug our shoulders and go on and go make the payment. I'm not late. And I know a lot of you have already accepted it. Usually starts 10 minutes. But the question we must ask ourselves early is this: when is enough going to be enough? At what point are we drawing this line in the sand for this evil system that is bent on enslavement? When that law was made, there was fuel subsidy. That money was meant to go to FEMA for the maintenance of federal roads. That's never been maintained. They've just been chopping the money. I see you. Now fuel subsidy is gone. You're not spending that money to repair the road, since there is no fuel ought to understand by next week. So let's start with just a very brief, or maybe I'll leave that 5% petroleum tax thing until the end or towards the end of the broadcast. But let's start. Apologies to those of you who don't speak Yoruba language. You'll see a transcript with subtitles available to you for the section I'm about to take now by next week. So, ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa. Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí ọ̀rọ̀ mi ò ní pọ̀, mi ò fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ mo fẹ́ mú nǹkan kan kí n pè sí àkíyèsí gbogbo wa. Ṣé rí lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí ariwo Igbo ò dáa, Yemiri, Yariba, Yorùbá bú Igbo, Igbo àbú Yorùbá. Nítorí wá pamílẹ̀rín jù náà ọ̀rọ̀ yìí tó rà gbọ́dọ̀ ló pààyàn lẹ́kún níbi tá a balẹ̀ ayé dé. Nítorí pààyàn lẹ́kún jù ń bẹ̀ tá a bá sóòótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ni pé àwọn tó jẹ́ bàtàn tó jẹ́ pé lánàá bọ́n tiẹ̀ jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ tímọ́tímọ́ bó tiẹ̀ jẹ́ wípé bí ọmọ ọba kan ni wọ́n ṣe jọ ń gbé wọn fi ọ̀tá wọn fi bára wọn gbé rí bó ti wá di wípé nísìnyí gbogbo ẹ̀ kàn gbóná bíi jogbo Ìgbò ò bá Yorùbá ṣe Yorùbá ò bá Ìgbò ṣe wọ́n wá sọ yín dọ̀tá ara yín débi wípé even àwọn nǹkan tó yẹ kẹ́ ẹ jọ ṣe pọ̀ tó yẹ kẹ́ ẹ ṣera yín lẹ́yọ kan torí èmi ò lérò pé a lè lọ ra nǹkan lọ́jà kan béèrè bolo ń kálukú ti wá kí wọ́n tó máa tajà fún wọn níbi tó ti wá ò dín owó ọjà yẹn kù kódà kó jẹ́ ọmọ ìlú kan náà kẹjọ wá láti Gbòho ni mo pè iye tó lọ́jà ń tajà ẹ̀ náà ni ó ta bó sì ṣe wọ́n náà ní iye tó fẹ́ tajà ẹ̀ náà ló máa ta báwo ló ṣe wá di wípé àti ẹ̀ wá lè bára wa mọ̀ pé òkè bí iléèwé bá dáa ó jọ dáa fún gbogbo wa ni bí títì bá dáa ó jọ dáa fún gbogbo wa ni bí ọjà gan tó bá dáa ó jọ dáa fún gbogbo wa ni kì í ṣe pé wọn ó ta ti Ìgbò lọ́tọ̀ wọn ó ta ti Yorùbá lọ́tọ̀ iye kan náà ni wọn ó ta fún gbogbo wa. Ṣé rí nígbà míì ó yẹ ká máa yẹ àwọn nǹkan táwọn bàbá wa tí wọ́n wí torí àwọn nǹkan tá à ń sọ wọ̀nyí gẹ́gẹ́ bí kò sí tó fi yàtọ̀ sí ìwé mímọ́ ní àwọn òwe wa ẹjẹ́ àwò kan nú ẹ̀ ó ní ọ̀rẹ́ mi dà mí èmi náà ó dá ọ̀dàlẹ̀ di méjì béèyàn kan bá ṣe ọ́ tó níwọ̀ náà ó ṣe tó gbọ́dọ̀ yáró ni ní tó ṣe ìwọ náà gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe ti ẹni mélòó ní ìlú òwà kú ó fọ́ mi lójú èmi náà fọ́ lójú gbogbo wa ó dá fọ́jú láàrin ìlú gbogbo wa ó dá fọ́jú láàrin ìlú nígbà tí wọ́n bá àgbà tó bá jẹ́ wípé gbogbo wa inú ọkọ̀ Nàìjíríà yìí kan náà láì jọ wà ti jẹ́ ká wá bá ṣe máa fi ìtúbí inú bí tó ọ̀rọ̀ wa èmi ò ní dandan ká jókòó sórí orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà o ẹ má ṣì mí gbọ́ torí àwọn míì nú wa tí wọ́n bá ti gbọ́rọ̀ Nàìjíríà tí wọn ò farabalẹ̀ kan gbọ́ pé tó ń tọ̀ ń sọ ní pé ẹ jẹ́ ká tiẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ jà ká gba òmìnira wa nínú Nàìjíríà yìí fún gbogbo ara wa ìbàjẹ́ Ìgbò ìbàjẹ́ kúrukúrú ìbàjẹ́ Haúsá kí gbogbo wa tiẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ gbé ìgbésí ayé tó mú ọpọlọ wá nígbà bá ṣe yẹn àwa lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní jà pé òkè afẹ́ Oòduà Republic afẹ́ rí eléyìí afẹ́ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá tiẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ jà kẹ́ẹ̀dẹ̀ èèyàn láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà tó yẹ pé àwọn tó yẹ pé wọ́n jọ mú yín sìn torí bí wọ́n ṣe mú Ìgbò sìn náà mú Yorùbá sìn náà mú Fúlàní sìn náà mú Haúsá sìn náà mú Ìjọ sìn àwọn tó ń jèrè Nàìjíríà tó ń jẹ mùdùnmùdùn ẹ̀ àwọn ò béèrè bolóńtàn tí wá kan tó pín kí ni Wike ará Àkúrẹ́ ara àwọn Ìgbò tán láwọn ò jẹ́ Ìgbò mọ́ nítorí bí Nàìjíríà ṣe dà ṣọmọ Yorùbá ni ṣé Jẹ̀bú ló ti wá ní àbímẹ̀ṣe àbọ̀mọ̀ Gbòho ni Ganduje ńkọ́ ṣé Yorùbá ni àwọn tó ń pín wọn wojú bolóńtàn ti wá ẹ̀yin tí yà ń jẹ gangan lẹ̀ ń pínra yín sọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀ ń pínra yín ẹ̀ kàn ń pínra yín àìrìn lọ́wọ́ ọ̀wọ́ ọmọ ejò ló ń ṣekú pa wọ́n tó bá ẹ̀pọ̀ ká ń lọ paramọ́lẹ̀ tẹ̀lé ṣé wọ́n lè máa mú wọn kán máa pa wọ́n nípakúpa bọ́n ṣe ń pa wọ́n. Ẹ̀yin fúnra yín ẹyẹ tó wà ńlẹ̀ yìí wò ṣé ẹ ti rí ó dà Umahi tó lóun ń ṣe títì Minister for Works ní ṣé Yorùbá ni búbu Tinubu kókó Yorùbá jọ kójọ ó kàn ń tàn yín ni kẹ́ ẹ lè rò pé ìjọba yín ni ṣó dín iye tẹ́ ẹ̀ ń san fún gààrí ṣó ti dínkù ni àbówó ata ló dínkù ṣówó rẹ̀ sí yín dínkù ni wọ́n ń fún yín ní 70,000 minimum wage wọ́n ń tàpò rẹ̀ sí over that price ẹ̀dẹ̀ tí ń jókòó ẹ̀ ń tẹ̀lé ẹni iná ẹ̀ ń tẹ̀lé wọn bá ti sọ̀rọ̀ wọn ní ọmọ àlè Yorùbá lẹni tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn so gbogbo ẹni bá ti lóòótọ́ sọ́nsìn ń lọ máa lè ẹ̀jẹ̀ ìran yín létí nǹkan kan ẹ̀yìn èèyàn mi. àwọn bàbá wa ní ti kó wa ń bẹ lára kó wa oníkálukú àbítí ẹ lára bó ṣe kù lára àwa Yorùbá ló kù lára Ìgbò ló kù lára Haúsá ló kù síbi tí ó kù sí kò sẹ́ni tó pé Ọlọ́run nìkan ló mú gbogbo wa pé ẹ má jẹ́ kí wọ́n á mú yín kan pín yín yẹ́lẹyẹ̀lẹ kan wá sọ yín dẹni tí ò lè bára yín sòótọ́ mọ́ tẹ́ lè jọ ṣe pọ̀ mọ́. Bàbá tiẹ̀ wá ní pé lóòótọ́ léèyàn kan tó jẹ́ yà tán fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ kórìíra ó tiẹ̀ wá ṣẹ̀yìn. Ǹjẹ́ ẹ rántí pọ́n bàbá wa lẹ́nìkan là ń kọ́ bàjẹ́ fún? Ṣe rí eléyìí tá à ń ṣe fúnra wa yìí àwa fúnra ara wa làwa sọra wa di sójà tá a múra wa lẹ́rú fáwọn tó fẹ́ kó wa lẹ́rú. Ṣó mọ́ pọlọ dání? Mo fẹ́ ran ilé tí orin kan tí wọ́n kó láì para sí èsì kan ló kọ́ nígbà náà ó ní béèyàn bá ti mẹ́ta tẹ́tẹ́ tó sì mẹ́ta kàlùkàlù ó ti gbóògùn tọ́ra rẹ̀ mẹ́ra gbóògùn tọ́ra mi èmi ò ní gbógun tira mi ṣùgbọ́n ilẹ̀ ń gbógun tira yín. Every time tẹ́ bá lẹ̀ ń bá àyàn kan jà ìjà tí ó kàn yín lápá tí ó kàn yín lẹ́sẹ̀ gbọ́n bá ń pè wọ́n ní pín kan yín. Tẹ́ bá ti gbé yẹn lórí dípò kẹ́ ẹ dúró lórí òótọ́ n tó bá ti mú yín tẹ́ ń fi àtàmọ́ mọ́ àtàmọ́ tẹ́ ń yọ kúrò tẹ́ ń gbọ́wọ́ lórí òṣùwọ̀n ìbílẹ̀ ń ṣe ẹnìkan òun là ń kọ́ bàjẹ́ fún ẹ yára yín lọ́pọlọ ẹ yé jẹ́ kí wọ́n máa pín yín yẹ́lẹyẹ̀lẹ èmi ò rí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ lọ́sẹ̀ yìí o. Good morning again, everybody. That was me in my tongue having a word with my people, the noble Yoruba people on the west coast of Africa. It is well with all of us. We do have a couple of minutes, and in those 2 minutes I would like to touch on something briefly. I might return to it in the course of my broadcast, but it is critical that I touched on it so that we all have clarity as to where we're going. This petroleum tax, it grates on my nerves. It's look, let me establish something for all of us very quickly. The typical Nigerian thing to do is to shrug our shoulders and go on and go make the payment. And I know a lot of you have already accepted it. But the question we must ask ourselves is this: when is enough going to be enough? At what point are we drawing this line in the sand for this evil system that is bent on enslavement? When that law was made, there was fuel subsidy. That money was meant to go to FEMA for the maintenance of federal roads. It's never been maintained. They've just been chopping the money. Now fuel subsidy is gone. You're not spending that money to repair the road since there is no fuel subsidy again. That law was made when petrol was less than 100 naira. There must be a consultation across board. At this Galadanchi, I'm calling out each and every opens their mouth in the public space and say that they are activists. We must resist this fuel taxation. We must resist it. We have a duty to resist this petroleum tax bill. It's 10 o'clock now. Oh, sorry. It's 4 o'clock now. So we'll start the podcast for today. Good morning, everybody. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon to you. It's morning where I'm at. Don't worry, I'll be with you soon enough. All of us will soon begin to enjoy our usual madness. So this week, I chose for myself the subject or topic, do not despair. Yeah, I mean that. Do not despair. In the last 3 weeks, if nothing else, at least my last 3 sermons, I think I moved from Nigeria is not a zoo, Nigeria is not a jungle, it is not well. I am not a prophet of doom. Nah, far from it. I am a creature of reasoning. Everything must make sense. I have a mind that demands answers, and I've been cursed with that since I was a child. And as I have looked over Nigeria, I had despaired. There are more than enough reasons to despair about Nigeria. But yeah, a lot of you have accused me in the past of using big words. Despair is not a big word, but just in case some of you might wonder exactly what do I mean by despair. Despair is a complete loss of desire or the absence of hope. The complete loss or absence of hope, that is despair. The absence or loss of hope is despair. But I'm now telling you, do not despair. But if I say to you, do not despair, and I have myself sat down and said that Nigeria is even worse than a zoo, and it is most certainly not a jungle, and then I went further to say all is not well, why am I then the one telling you not to despair? But why are we currently despairing? Why do we despair? This is not going to be a short session. It will take time, but I'll try my best to make the narrative easy for you to follow. What has led to the despair that appears to have overtaken the Nigerian space? If we say despair is the complete loss or absence of hope, why would you then say do not despair when everything in the Nigerian space demands that we despair? Why are we despairing? Why is it that the average Nigerian is so despondent that he's willing to cross the desert, cross the Mediterranean to escape what should be a blessed land? What is going on? Why are we so despondent? Why do we despair to that point where we appear to have lost all hope and we appear intent on escape? Why? What has led to this? John Locke will tell you that when society, when human civilization discovered that in the absence of a cooperative effort to come together, life was short, nasty, and brutish. So they formed the state. This morning, I will not bore you with how Nigeria is not really a state. Let's just say we have a state called Nigeria. That state is meant to provide security. That is the primary function of the state. And the nasty, brutish, state of nature in which men existed before the evolution of state. In Nigeria, we were spared all that evolutionary process. The British simply came, decreed into existence a conglomeration of nations that they have compressed together into the slave colony today known as Nigeria. But that state has failed, manifestly failed. All evidence of the existence of the state, its police, its army, its judiciary, its executives. The only thing about that makes sense is thieves. The executives, thieves. The legislators. The only thing that has happened that is apparent to every thinking Nigerian to varying degrees is the failure of the state. For the peasant who has been driven off his farm because of terrorists, state-sponsored terrorists, because we need to come to the point where we must understand that the Nigerian state is itself as a state. That means the entire apparatus of the state is complicit in terrorism. Governors paying ransom, national security advisor having a policy to send food, fuel, money to terrorists, soldiers refusing to engage with terrorists ostensibly because they were awaiting orders, in spite of the fact that they could hear gunshots, screams for help, calls for help. Policemen who routinely aid and abet criminals. A judiciary that is anything but the hope of anybody except the rich. There are more than enough reasons to despair when you look at Nigeria. The Nigerian has been entrapped. It's almost like they've strapped him down, and instead of mosquitoes, his rulers have inserted pipes into his bloodstream to take away his blood, lifeblood. That is the reality of the Nigerian. The state has become fascist in the extreme. That is the reality of the Nigerian. Yele was supposed to have said something or the other, called people what they are, and the next thing, they are writing letters to Twitter. In what is supposed to be a democracy, if they've called you a thief or a criminal, is either you are or you are not. If you don't believe yourself to be a criminal, you've been named a criminal, go to court. You're very fond of telling us to go to court. What stopped you? You even own the courts anyway, so go to court. The pervasive corruption all around us. No tenders, no budgeting, money just spent. This is probably the most brutal dictatorship I have witnessed as a Nigerian. The only thing is, we all have to pretend that we are in a democracy. So there are many reasons to despair. The salaries are not enough for anything meaningful. Nothing appears to be right. Businesses are shutting down because of multiple taxation regimes from all over the place. Yeah, they said they have a new tax code and all of that, but have they talked to the local government who come with about 20 different licensing permits that you have to pay for if you must run a business in this country? Have they? Everywhere you turn in Nigeria, there are more than enough reasons to despair. But no, I refuse to succumb to despair. And Shola, I disagree with you. There are plenty that is good and to talk about in Nigeria. You, the Nigerian victims, you have enough reason to refuse to despair. And I will explain myself. Yorubas have this proverb. They say, "Ireti pipe, o ma n se okan laare." When hope is delayed, despair sets in. See? Nigeria gained its independence 1960. Nigeria is going to be 65 years old. Is my math correct? 1960 to 2000 to 2020. That's 60 years. Yep. So Nigeria is going to be 65 years old. And in 65 years, even though it was announced with hope at its dawn, since 1966, January to be exact, or if you want to push it a little, you can say July, Nigeria has been completely hopeless to the discerning. Everything about Nigeria has demanded despair, from the Civil War to the years of the military interregnum, to the first constitution, and then the years of the cankerworm who calls themselves politicians. There is nothing about Nigeria that has elicited hope. Everything has demanded despair. I call myself a victim of Nigeria, and it didn't start with my incarceration. If you followed me for any length of time on social media, you will know I've labeled myself a victim of Nigeria, at least in the public space, for at least like 6 years. But I have been aware of my victimhood since I was 16 years old. That is how long Nigeria has demanded despair from those who still retain the capacity to think. But as I was thinking through all these things, I had myself being told clearly in my spirit, do not despair. Yeah, I was 16 years old when I realized how hopeless Nigeria is. 16. If you went into my first book, Do Not Die in Their War, you see the chapter where I describe the encounter. But that is not for today. Why do I say do not despair in the face of the entirety of our objective reality? That stinks to high heavens. From everything that makes a state has failed in Nigeria. Our society has collapsed. The norms of the society, everything that makes a society where people are bridled either by law or by morals or by norms, all gone in our own country. And I still say do not despair. If you go into your, okay, so let me just enter a caveat quickly. I'm not your pastor. Some person told me long ago that whatever I do, I'll end my life behind the pulpit. Maybe this is the pulpit already, because I'm going to be referring you to one of the scriptures this morning. Particularly, when I use scriptures, I try to use our Proverbs. But this morning, I need to take you into the book of Ezekiel, particularly chapter 37. Read it at your own convenience, but look at verses 11 to 14. What is the importance? Read it at your convenience. This is not meant to be a Bible class, but it does speak to the valley of dry bones. It speaks to hopelessness. And Ezekiel was told to prophesy to the dry bones, to tell the dry bones to come together. You read it at your own convenience, but this is what I want to tell you this morning. Hope breeds possibilities. I need to remind you, when these miscreants were coming into office, they consistently played on the word hope. So even the one that is currently destroying the country, looting it almost into irrelevance and dividing it almost beyond repair, came into office proclaiming the renewal of hope. They are not unaware of the capacity of hope to liberate a people. So when they tell you renewed hope, it is in recognition of the fact that they have destroyed hope and they have brought despair and the country has become hopeless. So they promise what they know they are not interested in delivering, because hope is a dangerous thing to revive. And it is my purpose this morning to revive your hope. Why? Hope is not passive. Hope is active. It acts. It does things. You cannot hope and sit down receiving the abuse, receiving the lies, receiving the serial abuse and victimization of the Nigeria. If you had hope in you, you will not sit down and accept it. Hope breeds possibilities. If you are hopeful, you will see the possibilities that exist. Hopelessness blinds you, it kills you, it makes you supplant, it makes you pliable, it makes you malleable in the hands of those who would enslave you. Do not allow yourself to succumb to hopelessness. Hope motivates. It shows you the possibilities and then it motivates you. It breeds possibilities. It tells you the many things that can happen when you rise out of your despair. Hope, let me tell you this. Why should you hope? Because I see someone ask that question. I love the part. This is why I love my live broadcast. It allows for some measure of interaction. Why should you be hopeful in a hopeless place? There are many reasons to be hopeful. We are alive, we are well, and we have functioning brains in our heads. Almost every time we speak to how we are more than them, but we still allow the minority to dictate our enslavement. The reason why we must have hope is that without hope, we give up. We accept enslavement. Part of the acceptance of enslavement is the readiness to pay this 5% tax. That is acceptance of enslavement. It is succumbing to despair. But we should not. We should not. Hope gives you courage, gives you confidence, makes you happy. Hope is not delusional. It is not denial. It does not ignore the facts. Let's be clear about it. Our objective realities are clear. And I'm not selling you what your pastors have already attempted to sell to you earlier this morning. Delusions. I'm not interested in selling you delusions. I need you to be hopeful. Because when you are hopeful, you see possibilities. Part of that hopefulness comes from you recognizing that you must bring other people into your orbit, help them to see the commonalities of their afflictions. Whether the person is Igbo, is Yoruba, is Ijo, is whatever, it does not matter. The point is, at what point, exactly at what point do you see that that person, even though speaks a different language from you, is actually you in his existential realities? It is in coming together with persons whose experiences and yours mirrors each other that you build synergies, and this is when you can free yourselves from the sickening objective reality to which we've all been condemned. If we allow ourselves to the hopelessness all around us, the despair, it will be able to envision a better future. And that better future that we have failed to envision is obscured from us because of the hatred that we have embraced, or the ignorance that has shielded us from seeing what we should see. If you do not build bridges across the divides, you cannot see the hope that has been veiled from you. But let me be clear. Do not despair. Do not despair. As tempting as it might be, do not allow yourself to succumb to despair. But if you must not succumb to despair, you must have clarity as to what comes next. I am calling you to begin to mobilize yourselves around the commonalities. Education. Who is it good for in Nigeria today? Is it good in the Yoruba land? Is it that the Igbo child has better access than the Fulani child? Yes, I know there are discrepancies nationwide in terms of infrastructural spread. What about security? If you think that a side has it better with education, it's worse in some part, yes, but who is living at peace in Nigeria? What is it that one side has better than the other? Everybody is groaning. It's only the beneficiaries that have any reason to be happy with our current realities. So why is it so difficult for us to find these commonalities and allow these commonalities to be the basis for galvanizing ourselves to action? Let's take this 5% petroleum tax, for instance. Would the APC members be paying a different rate? Would they be collecting less from the Yoruba when they get to the pump at the petrol stations? The spillover effect. When the tomato that is coming from Jos, you know those are tomato Jos, would they sell at different prices depending on your ethno-religious affiliations? Would they? The only reason you're succumbing to despair is because you have embraced hatred. If you would find the commonalities of your affliction, you'll find very quickly that you are galvanized to action and you can walk away from this despondency. There is nothing about our current realities that should encourage hope. But I assure you that if you allow yourself to descend into despair, evil is not far behind. Because a hopeless people become ready tools in the hands of every charlatan. That's part of the reason why you have 1,001 churches everywhere. You have all kinds of Islamic clerics everywhere, because the people have become hopeless and are looking for every little spark, something that would offer them some hope, however illusory it might be. But I say to you, your salvation, the recovery of hope, lies in you refusing to embrace hatred. Hatred blinds you. It makes it impossible for you to see what is obvious or should be obvious. I'll be failing in my duties if I presume to be done without again reminding you, support the work that Randy Peter is doing. We have multiple weapons that people can embrace in the battle to be free. But I have never learned how to embrace violence. But there is something that is by far more powerful than guns. And that is the resolve, the common resolve of an awakened people. I want you awakened, quickened, understanding your place in the scheme of things, and then fighting to demand to be free. Instead of arming you with guns. And I really don't believe that even your ballot paper would free you in the absence of your resolve to be freed. But if we are not going to be talking about armed struggles, we must, of necessity, embrace the only struggle that is in front of us. And that is one that demands electoral change, but also one that is active in the process of change. That the system would have another Yakubu. And let me be clear, because this has become very important. I am not speaking to you as a partisan. I don't care who you decide to vote or not vote for. If you like, vote Peter Obi. If you like, vote Tinubu. If you like, vote Atiku. Vote whoever you care. That is your right as a citizen. But you should be the one exercising it. It should not be the court. It should not be Yakubu. It shouldn't be anyone but you. That is what I'm asking you to fight for. Fight to ensure that when the time comes, if it comes, you are in a position to demand to vote for whoever you care. But it's not enough. Voting is no longer enough in Nigeria. Vote in Nigeria, stand behind your vote. Vote whoever you care. Do you understand? I'm not campaigning for anybody. I'm telling you, as a fellow victim of Nigeria, that the only way that the state, as criminal as it has become, has left open, since we all have to pretend we are in a democracy, please, go and collect. If you don't have one, collect your voter's card. Now, I am not falling for the illusion of 2022, 2023, where we all believe that there will be an INEC that will do the right thing. That is not why I'm asking you to do this. Even if we are going to go to the street, it must begin with our vote. Must go to the street, even if it must begin with our voter's card. Whoever we are planning to vote for must mobilize us behind ideas, not emotions. And that is when we can be mobilized to the street, when they do what they ought not to do, as they have always done. I can't call you to the street with guns, but I can call you to the street when your will, if your will, is subverted as it was done the last time. But that can only happen in a situation where you are keyed in from the beginning and where you are prepared to stand behind your will. Do not despair, I said. And do not forget, I did ask you, go read Ezekiel 37. You don't need to be a Christian to embrace wisdom. I'm not asking you to read it for the spiritual spirit. No. I'm asking you to read it, even if only for the metaphor contained inside. It is never too late. Despair does not solve any problem. Hope ignites revolutions. I need you to be hopeful. We have a revolution waiting for us. When you talk revolution and I say peaceful revolution, they say, oh, you can't have a peaceful revolution. Yes, you can. What the state does is not in your hand. What is in your hand is what you do. As long as you are peaceful, it's a peaceful revolution. Let them be as violent as they care to be. But no matter how violent the rulers are, if you find common purpose with other victims of Nigeria, we are more than them, by far more than them. The persons harmed and told to pull down what you'll be demanding is more demanding of those things than even you. It is finding the commonalities that strengthens us. So let's be clear. The voter's card, for me, is more powerful than your gun. And that is not spoken in delusion. I know INEC will do what they do. But if transformational leaders should rise, who are able to communicate succinctly and clearly the vision for the future, I have every confidence in me that you will stand behind such leaders. And if you stood behind them, I triple dare Mahmoud and his like to do the same thing that they have done in the past. Hope brings rebellion. I need you to be hopeful for what is to come. I spent the past weeks telling you what is. Now it is time for what is to come. But for what is to come, you must be hopeful. Embrace hope. Embrace hope. And I see what you say, Odubia. We'll see what I can do if I'm having phone-in sessions at some point or the other. But it is critical. Move away from despair. Embrace hope. In the absence of hope, you give up. And I don't need you giving up. I need you awakened to the possibilities. Wake up to the possibilities. Do not despair. They want you despondent. They want you to be despondent. If you're despondent, you give up. If you give up, that's when they tell you go right, go left, you become as zombies, willing slaves. Embrace hope. Tomorrow will be better than today. Simply came by to tell you to not despair. I gotta go now. Have you blessed weeks ahead? God bless you all. Shalom.
Now, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai says Nigeria has more people living in poverty today than it did at independence in 1960. Speaking over the weekend at a political forum in Owerri, Imo State, El-Rufai urged the government to prioritize poverty reduction, comparing Nigeria's struggles to China and India, which he said have made major progresses in lifting. He described